All right, and our NHL season previews keep on rolling. This episode is going to be the New Jersey Devils featuring our good pal Singsy. You can go follow him on Twitter. Singsy, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's great to be back with you guys. It's been a long time, it feels like, even though it's only been a few months. So I'm raring to go for the season.
I know, right? Yeah, a lot of changes over in Jersey in the offseason. Quite a disappointing year last year, and a lot of new faces. A new coach, a new goalie, a couple new defensemen, some new forwards. We can dissect all the moves over the course of the episode, but just overall, what's your reaction to what the team has done in the offseason?
Well, I couldn't be happier. I mean, you nailed it. There was, three major deficits last year, obviously buttressed by injuries to a lot of major players, but it was the size and the toughness on the defense. So they got a lot bigger, right? They brought in Dylan, 6'4". Pesci's a 6'3" guy. He blocks a lot of shots. And they just got bigger overall. Goaltending, they had Jake Allen towards the end of last year, but getting someone the quality of Markstrom, look, he's older, he's 34. But he's a top kind of five goalie in the NHL. On some nights, he's the best goalie in the NHL, quite frankly. And then the coaching. Look, love Lindy Ruff. Everybody kind of vacillates back and forth on Lindy. I personally had a love-hate relationship. I may have been one of the ones saying fire Lindy, and then I'm sorry, Lindy 2 games later. I mean, it happens. Um, but look, man, I think his system was so complex, and you saw it happen when guys came over. Like, when Timo came over, he was perplexed because the system was just so damn hard. It's just not what these guys are used to playing. When it works, everybody's committed to it, clicking. It's wonderful. But I think Sheldon Keefe's going to be a breath of fresh air. He had his playoff, monkey. He wants to get off his back, but he's a young, relatable coach with a more traditional system that I think it'll work well in Jersey.
I also think one of the things with Keefe is he comes into a much more complete team in Jersey than he had in Toronto. You touched on the goaltending. That's something that Toronto did not have while he was there. Even looking at defense depth and forward depth, I think the Devils are in a much better position than the Maple Leafs were. Just curious your thoughts on what you thought the biggest offseason move was. It seems like everyone was torn between Pesci or Markstrom. Just curious where you're at on that.
Yeah, I really think it's Markstrom. Look, I'm always an advocate of having, a big, tough defense. That's what the Devils Stanley Cups were won on. Of course, with Marty, hat tip to Marty Brodeur as well. Um, but yeah, I mean, when you have, you know, last year, as bad as the Devils were, as bad as the injuries were, there was like 15 games left in the season, and we were like, maybe they'll sneak in and everybody will come back and be healthy, but there was no goaltending. It just, it was a disaster. So I really think, just shoring that position up is everything for us.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this lineup. For me, it's hard to find a hole. You mentioned there were some holes last year. I guess if you had to say, what do you think on paper would be the biggest weakness with how the team looks right now?
Yeah, I think there's some question marks again around 3C. You have Eric Halla, who's not getting any younger, and his production was down a little bit last year. Look, I'm talking about it. No one else seems to, but I think the team really missed Mikey McLeod when he went out. That was a guy who was, your number one PK center, your number one face-off man, played a 200-foot game, and it was finding his scoring touch. Whatever happened, happened, and it's a bad situation for everybody, certainly that young lady. But, from a hockey perspective, will Cotter come in and fill that role? And will we have a fourth line that's, where we had like a Miles Wood, Bastion, and Mikey McLeod, where it was a high energy line. They could tilt a game. They could, the thing about like McLeod having that guy, whenever the other team's number one center came across, Mikey McLeod, if we had last change, he was jumping over the wall to go take that guy on if him or Nico. So, is it Cotter? I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm worried about this fourth line.
I like Cotter actually. I think that's a really underrated pickup for you guys. That dude is he had some bright moments I think with Vegas. And I think that kid could be a nice surprise in Jersey for you guys. I think you guys are gonna like him.
I like the Curtis Lazar thing too. I mean, the guy has gotten consistent ice time with essentially every team he's been on, whether it was Ottawa, Buffalo, or now with Jersey. And I think that that's just a perfect fourth line player for the Devils.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. Yeah, I'm excited for Cotter, right? And I like Lazar. Like I was not a Lazar guy when he came on. Like I'm like, we don't need this guy. I wanted, one of the younger guys to get more minutes, whatever. But he just wears on you just from how hard he plays, how disciplined he plays. He's not the most talented finisher, unfortunately. If he could finish a little bit, he'd be a 20 goal guy, no doubt, because the rest of his game is fine. But just what a good dude. I mean, I have a lot of comfort when he's on the ice. Not that we'll score, but that we're not going to, fuck something up.
We'll talk about Jack Hughes in a second. Definitely going to talk about him, but getting Dougie Hamilton back, I don't even know if you can put into words how important that is for the Devils this year.
Oh, dude, it's everything. It's your number one D. Look, I'm worried. I've been reading up a little bit on the left pectoral injury, which is what he has. That is not like a guarantee you're going to come back and be the same guy. And the same with Dougie. He's not older, but he's oldish. I think he's in his 30s now, and he's a big guy, and big guys tend to wear out quicker in their careers. But his strength of his game was that booming shot, that wrister that he could just find the smallest hole from really far out. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think in a lot of ways, that's why the Devils, if you kind of look at their roster, there's like an extra defenseman or two right now that they're spending money on. I think, there's a little bit of doubt in me that Dougie's going to be back. I hope he will be because that was everything. When you lose him, you lose your number one power play guy. Look, he's not the best defender. He gets beat a lot cheating up ice, which is why you need a stay-at-home partner for him. But he's a game changer, man. You don't have a lot of guys like that.
It's almost like what two seasons ago when the Caps lost Carlson. It's like maybe he's more offensive minded, but he eats so many minutes, and
Yeah.
he's just the leader back there. So
Yeah, exactly. When you lose a Carlson, when you lose a Dougie Hamilton, I mean, you're taking 20 to 25 minutes of prime ice time away. I mean, you're counting on that guy for everything. He was an assist per game, right shot number one, 6'6" defenseman. I mean, you don't replace that. They're unicorns.
Absolutely.
And I think it affects the forwards too. I mean, they know when, where, and how that breakout pass is coming from that specific defenseman. Now you got to get someone else in
a
there to
great point.
log
Yep.
those minutes and not only make those plays. And I think that's something you just can't replace.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I was talking to Cody Pucks on his show, and it kind of put everybody else. I know we're all friends, right? It kind of put everybody else out of position, right? So you lose Dougie, so now Luke's got to play number one PP minutes, and Siegenthaler's suddenly he's cheating up more, like trying to shoot. I'm like, what are you doing up there, Jonas? Get the hell back there. And then there's more space and more pucks are going in, and everything kind of exacerbates itself. So you just lose that one key piece in the front like a Hughes or a Hamilton, and unfortunately we lost both. It puts everybody out of position. These NHL rosters are constructed so specifically that when you throw that many guys out of position, good things are not happening.
So we got to talk about Jack Hughes. Can't talk about the Devils without him. Coming off that shoulder surgery, I believe. Bold move to be on the cover of a video game coming off an injury. If you believe in that curse or not, that's up to you. But what are we thinking for Jack this year? There's going to be a ton of eyes on him.
I was at that game where he got injured, and Bedard got injured as well, right? The Bedard game when he got his jaw broken. I was the veteran of the game at the Devils game at that game, which the Devils won. It was great, but it was just a tough thing to watch Jack get hurt. When he is out of the lineup, it is just a totally different team. Like the pundits now, they're like Devils, maybe fourth, fifth, sixth, favorite to get a Stanley Cup. You take Jack Hughes out of that lineup, they're a middle of the pack team. I mean, he is everything. He's a point per game, his speed, his passing ability. He elevates everyone else around him. Jesper Bratt's wave. It's the reason all the forwards want to play with Jack. Mercer wants to play with Jack. Everybody, Nico wants to play with Jack. The other centers want to play with Jack. I mean, he sucks up all the defensive attention. Everybody else has that much more room to work with, and it just works great, except for Timo Meyer. For whatever reason, Timo and Jack do not mesh, and it's awful to see because they should be a natural pairing.
Let's talk about Timo for a second. So 28 goals last year, but he was also a dash 28. So what are you looking for him going into this season?
Yeah, I'm looking for a lot, quite frankly. Look, Timo got rammed in the face in the playoffs, and I think that had some carryover effect. F Truba for the beginning of the season. Yeah, screw you, Rangers.
Love it.
And then he wasn't comfortable in the system. He could never find the right line pairing. Him and Jack would go to the same exact spot on the ice all the time when they were paired together. I'm like, guys, what are you missing here? And obviously it was Timo was out of position because Jack grew up in that Lindy system. So all of a sudden, though, Timo, I think he was out for a bunch of January. Then he comes back. February, he's looking pretty good. March, he looks like the best player in the NHL, like a true power forward. He's pumping goals in. He's dominating games. He was the number one option on the PP. Of course, everyone else was hurt. So he's getting like 5 shots per power play, just dominating the ice. So what's going to happen this year? I think under a Keefe system, I think Timo isn't going to be back at 40 goals again this year. I think he is just going to have a hell of a season this year. That's my bold prediction. Just like when I predicted Cats over the Oilers when I was on your show last time, the
You did
Stanley
do
Cup, I'm
that.
That's right.
predicting
You did
Timo
do
for
that.
40 goals.
You and Elio. Yeah. And
All
I'm
right.
pretty sure we had you guys on the same show and did your recordings back to back and you both nailed it.
Yeah, except I said in 6, there was in 7, so little mea culpa.
So we gotta ask, and I think I know what your answer is going to be. We'll start with this. Are the Devils a playoff team?
Yes, 1,000,000%, 100%.
Now, where would you rank them in terms of a cup contender? I think in the tier ones, you've got those Dallas, Edmonton, Florida, Rangers kind of teams. Are you putting them up there with them, or are you gonna say maybe tier two?
Yeah, I think they're at the bottom of tier one, top of tier two, if I'm being honest. There's a lot of question marks coming in. When you have that drastic of a lineup shakeup, when you have, still guys coming back off injuries that are key that we haven't really seen yet in the preseason, I don't think they're going to come out, guns a-blazing. I think they'll come out and be steady and kind of put some things together. And then come 1 December, we'll see what we have, with the Devils this year. But look, I'm bullish on them. I think they can be as good as any team. Every team's got question marks, right? I mean, but the Metropolitan's going to be good this year. The Caps, they have what, 91 points last year? Isles, made the playoffs. The
Somehow,
Rangers, what's that?
somehow they had 91
Somehow.
points.
Right, right. I mean, the Metropolitans, it's good hockey. I mean, you have some, the Flyers could be good, they could suck, uh, you know, um, the Penguins, probably going to be awful. Columbus will be terrible. But the top of the Metro is going to be really good. I mean, Carolina's a good team. Rangers are a good team. Devils are a good team. You just have good hockey in the Metro.
I think I asked this question for the last two seasons in a row when we did our season previews to these two guys, and I want to hear it from you. And I know you're a Devils fan, but if you're being objective,
Yeah.
who's better, the Rangers or the Devils? Because I feel like we go through this every year on paper.
Yeah, honestly, everywhere but goaltending, I would take the Devils. But I think, when you got that number 1A goalie, that just makes the difference. I know because we had that guy, right? So we were rarely the best team on paper. We were rarely a top 5 team on paper. But when you have the 1A alpha goalie in the league, I mean, you can kind of make up for a lot of little things. So look, I like our forwards better. I think on paper, our D is going to be way better than theirs, although their defense, Miller, I mean, they're pretty good D. But the goaltending, I think, is where they have the edge.
I'm thinking Keefe is going to win a Jack Adams here if everything goes as planned.
Oh, I would love it, man. I would love the Devils. About 115, 116 point season. They kind of skate to the finals.
I wouldn't have any problem with that. I don't really mind the Devils too much.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I think you picked their logo was the only 8-point pick out of the trio here.
Good. I'm glad someone's been paying attention to the logo ratings. We appreciate that.
Yeah, I like the logo. I'm into the logo, so that was really good. I would have had the Devils running 8-5 though.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Any other questions you boys got for Singsy?
I think I'm all good. Should be a good season. I'm excited.
Yeah,
Yeah,
likewise.
yeah, definitely. Appreciate you guys and what you do, all the great content. I'm a follower. Yeah,
Appreciate that.
looking forward to a great season and
Real quick,
yeah.
cup pick.
Oh my God. All right. So this early this season, just because it doesn't matter.
You got
So
to go back to back now.
Yeah.
yeah, okay. I'm gonna go.
We'll ask again at the deadline. It's fun.
Yeah, boy. I don't know. Should we just say like Devils over Oilers and seven,
Ooh.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
I
would be
like that.
great. I mean, I'll tell you what would be the NHL's wet dream will be the Devils and the Canucks, right? In
Yeah.
Vancouver, all
That
three.
would be a good one.
I
Or
mean, that would be a good one.
Devils Dallas. Let's run that old 90s 2000s series back one more time.
Oh, I would love it, man. A little revenge. Yeah. But I look, after being shut out of the playoffs last year, as good as the playoffs was, not having your team in is just
It's tragic.
horrendous. So I just want to be back in the dance.
Harry knows all about
It
that.
sucks. I got spoiled for so long, and now I'm just like, ugh, I wish I could taste that again.
Oh, I know, man. Well, you'll get it back eventually. It all comes in cycles.
It's funny you say Devils Vancouver because I'm pretty sure we did a YouTube video about the most intriguing Cup final matchup, and I'm pretty sure that was mine because of the family
Yeah.
connection with Hughes.
Yeah. I mean, I just and look, I love Vancouver. I mean, talk it. I mean, everything they do. Number one, it's a great city, by the way, if you haven't been out there. Just amazing place. Hockey fanatics, and it's just a great, great team. I think that would be a lot of fun.
For sure. Well, we appreciate the time. Good luck this season. We'll link your Twitter for people to go follow you in the description, and good luck this season.
Great. Thanks, boys. Always great to be on here with you. I appreciate it.